that's turned out.
Well, the rest is history, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's always a plan of engaging with the audience and understanding, you know, the league we're in, understanding how you know, we're perceived as entertainers and what people are acclimated to seeing. You know, people love the Deons. The Muhammad Ali was a great influence of mine, and guys like that have always been showmen. You know, tell it like it is. You know, give them genuine, straight up. And a lot of athletes give them the cookie cutter mold. You know, great game, great opponent, a lot of respect. You know, everybody can give you that. It's a cliche. You know, great game, great opponent, great respect. He's a great player, great respect. You know, and sometimes you got to give it real, and it's not always great player, great respect. Sometimes it's I hate that dude, and let me tell you, I really dislike it, and it sells. You know, in football, you need rivalries, you need conflict. It's not a friendly game. It's not. You know, we're shaking hands after the game. A lot of times, guys are still, you know, a lot of adrenaline pumping, still aren't, you know, you wouldn't want to shake hands with these guys after what they did to you.
And that's what happened in the Erin Andrews interview, right? I mean, a lot of people may not know that, you know, Richard going into that game had a plan. You knew you were mic'd up by the NFL Network. You knew everything you were going to say in that game was going to be
under the microscope.
Under the microscope, the NFL Network was going to do something. So if you notice, you didn't cuss the entire game, but you had a plan going into that final play. And what was the plan? What was going through your head?
Well, it was more going to the game than the final play, you know, because you can never predict when the ball is going to come your direction. You know, I can safely assume I'm not going to, you know, play terrible and crap down my leg. I mean, it may sound arrogant, but I work really hard, so, you know, you can just safely assume you're not going to play terrible and your teammates are going to do well, do as they've done all season. And in knowing that, you can kind of formulate a plan of what to execute after the game, you know, and what to say if certain events happen. You know, if I intercept the ball for the game or you make a big play. And I think if the play had happened a little earlier in the game, you know, I would have still delivered the same message, but it wouldn't have been as emotional. It wouldn't, you know, the volume wouldn't have been as high. You know, the delivery would have been a lot more calm and reserved, but it would have been the same message. So it got the same buzz and same effect. But, you know, maybe Erin Andrews wouldn't have been so scared and horrified. But we had a good laugh about it afterwards. And she's since gone on to Dancing with the Stars, so I think everybody has benefited from it.
So I know Dancing with the Stars contacted Russell Wilson. Have they contacted you yet?
They did. They contacted me right after the Super Bowl, but I had a sprained ankle.
Oh,
so
no.
I had to respectfully decline. You know, the offer was there. I appreciated the.
One of these days.
One of these days, we'll get out there and I'll do a Macarena.
So back to the NFC title game. You do the Erin Andrews interview. You run off the field. You get into the locker room. And you have a text message on your phone. Who's it from?
Dave Schoen.
Head football coach at Stanford, who is your offensive coordinator when you started at Stanford. Then what happens after that text?
Well, then we get on the phone. You know, I give him a call because he's always the calm, reserved mind that you always see on TV. He's that way regardless of the situation. You know, it could be a nuclear war and he's in the middle of it. He's like, hey guys, let's figure out the best way to solve this situation. You know, level-headed and make a great decision. And so, you know, whenever something like this happens, he's usually the first or second guy I call. And, you know, he gave me a good conversation, as you know, and you spoke to him and we had a good talk. And, you know, he told me, you know, how people had reacted and how, you know, what he thought of the moment. And he's always genuine and honest about his opinion. And, you know, that allowed me to move forward, you know, and understand the criticism, but also understand the praise that comes along with it. You know, there's a pros and the cons to every situation. And, you know, the cons are you know, you scared Erin Andrews half to death. You know, there's some people who don't like the brash, you know, aggressive, confident talk. And you know, you didn't curse, you know, the pros where you didn't curse, you won the game, you made the big play, you guys are going to the Super Bowl, you're in the news for at least the next 2 weeks. and social media is going crazy. So, you know, there are pros and cons to every situation, but I think the pros outweighed the cons in that one.
But that conversation was 10 minutes after the game, and you came up with, again, another plan of, okay, that interview didn't go the way I wanted it to go. What do we do from here? And the plan was what? When you met with the Seattle media the next day, you came up and you weren't talking about Crabtree and that, you were talking about who?
I was talking about my teammates, you know, because I think whenever you face a situation like that, of adversity, of criticism, of, you know, I guess some people would call it a moment of, you know, I guess anger or, you know, emotion, you still have to, you know, people, that's not truly who you are. You know, that's a moment of time within a game. You know, if you catch a lawyer at his highest peak in the courtroom, you know, he might not be the great father and the great guy that he is at home. He might be an aggressive a-hole who's trying to make a point and win his case. You know, but if you take that out of context and put it and try to judge his character off of that one moment, then you'll be shortchanging yourself in that man. So that's the message I tried to get out there. I tried to, you know, get people to understand who I truly was as a person and all the things I went out there to do. You know, I try to help a lot of people out in this world and do a lot of things in the community as well as just being a genuinely pretty good person. You know, just, you know, it's not on the field, I'm as fierce a competitor as you can find, but off the field, I'm probably as, you know, a good person as you can find. And that's a message I think people could sympathize with, the honesty and the genuine mentality. That's one thing I'm known for now, is being honest and genuine, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, I'm gonna shoot you straight.
You went into what you called recovery mode. It wasn't damage control, you called it recovery mode, and you wanted people to know that you're not this bad guy. That bothers you when people say he's a bad guy, because you're not a bad guy, and you spend any time with you, people realize that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a bad guy, I probably wouldn't have fought it so vehemently. I would have been okay with it. Just sit there, all right, I had to say hello to the bad guy, you know, I'm all right with that. But, you know, when you're not a bad guy, when that's not who you are, and everybody around you knows that's not who you are, then it's not hard to show them the honest truth and who you really are, to be yourself and be genuine and show people, you know, in a moment of you know, emotion, that you could be someone else totally different off the field. You could be a great guy, a great friend, a great son, you know, a great brother, and do everything you can do to help society in any way you can. I mean, once people know that and learn that about you, then they judge you a little differently. Then they understand it was just a moment.
You took that opportunity to hit Twitter hard, Facebook. Your Twitter followers were 268,000. The next night, they were 567. Now you're at 900. Your Facebook likes, obviously you went up in the hundreds of thousands. You're writing for Monday Morning Quarterback. You're blogging on your webpage. You've got your own line of clothing. You're a busy guy, and you've done just a lot of this in the last little over 2 months. So you went on the attack with all of that, with social.
It's all planned. You always have to have a plan. And I mean, when you have a plan, you embrace moments like that. You know, when the moment comes and you get the 600,000 Twitter followers, and you get, you know, the notoriety, the acclaim, you get the thousands of cameras in your face. You have to be able to live inside that moment and understand it, and be able to create that impact, that longevity that you can create in those moments when you have the spotlight, when you have the shine, because it could go one or two ways. You could be terrible, and I could stutter and make mistakes and make the moment worse, and curse and get angry, and it could, you know, all my Twitter followers could be gone, and it could just be criticism and, oh, look how terrible this guy handled that. Or you could embrace it and educate people on, you know, who you are as a person, the community service outreach you're doing, maybe, you know, the entrepreneurial side, you know, selling t-shirts and things like that, but also supporting the foundation for kids, you know, blanket coverage. And it really allows you to spread your message if you have one. But if you don't have one, then you miss the moment.